And welcome to the CommonSpace office. We're here again to talk to Angela and the rest of the crew. So Angela, how are you?
I'm alright, Kevin. I'm pretty tired.
Yeah?
I'm always tired. I'm looking for the sympathy vote, everyone, by the way. Just leave your wee comments underneath the video on Facebook. Tell me that you're feeling sorry for me and all that.
We need that kind of help, don't we?
That's
Emotional
it.
and
That's it.
moral help there.
How are you, Kevin? You're looking a bit tired as
yeah,
well.
I'm doing.
No offence.
No, it's okay. That's what happens. You've got twin girls that are 5-year-old. It definitely keep you going. But I'm doing this crowdfund at the moment, so I'm having to stay up late, do lots of tweeting and promotion stuff. Sometimes I keep hitting the same Facebook pages all the time, and I must be getting sick of these promos that are keeping up.
You hear it. Twin 5-year-old girls, and this guy is still up at night trying to fundraise, putting all his time into ending life. So please donate, make his life a little bit easier.
The thing is, it's like to do this, you've got to feel as if you're making, an effort to try and change the society that we're in, right? And that's what Indie Live's about. And we cover lots of different things. We've got a Palestine thing that we're doing in a little while. We've got refugees, Cali issue that we're covering. So we cover all types of different things, Angela. It's cultural as well as political. So, it definitely, you keep busy.
How you do it. I honestly think you've got a clone, Kevin, because Indie Live seems to be everywhere.
Well,
I don't know how you get around so many events.
So it's Grassroots, right? We're Grassroots. So we've got, we've got a group in Edinburgh. There's a group in Glasgow, and everybody does it for free. Yeah. So it is a big effort, and if it wasn't Grassroots, I don't think we could do it. I am the only one that does it full time. I'm one of the co-founders of Independence Live, and it's just how it is. That people feel that this is a worthwhile thing for them to do. They're interested in live streaming. Some of them people involved take that a bit further. It might help them with their careers, etc. So, as well as
it sets people off on a path. We found that at CommonSpace as well. There's people that have been doing some stuff for us. We had Liam O'Hare. He was one of our original reporters, and he went on to a job in London at RT's bureau down there.
Yeah.
And we've had other people. James McInerney, one of our columnists, who's done a lot of work on education. He started writing for mainstream newspapers as well. We started working with them on that stuff. And I think we even had Ross Alfeld. He was writing he was doing a kind of religious slant on what was going on in politics, which is really interesting. It's something totally different, and he's very knowledgeable about that kind of area of sort of political religious thought, which was quite alien to me actually. And he's now doing a column in the Catholic Observer. He's Catholic, so it just goes to show that when people start off using the grassroots channels, it can sometimes take them onto bigger platforms that they would otherwise not have been on. And I think that's us doing our job, and that we're getting those voices out there into those channels where they weren't before. That's why we exist, because those people couldn't get their voices heard. So it's definitely having the right effect.
It's hugely important, right, that people do get their voice out there. I mean, when we live stream, right, the people behind those cameras are doing their bit to get someone's voice out there, but they're also, without those people doing that, those live streams, it wouldn't happen, right? So, information and news is everything. What yous are doing, I think, is absolutely brilliant, incredibly, so impressed. It's why we're here, try to help yous and help the journalists here to show them how to exploit live streaming. Independence Live just doesn't exist. We don't exist just to create some big organisation, right? We're here to help other individuals or other organisations like yourself to try and, make the most or be aware of live streaming. Doing this to your Facebook page. So,
well, that's it. I mean, none of us make any money out of this. I mean, okay, we get those of us that are doing it full time are raising enough money to get a wage because we have to. We've got bills to pay. We're like everybody else, and it's impossible for any of this network to run without some people being able to do it full time and be able to get a wage from it. But we don't make money, and our wages are modest. These organisations don't make big profits. They don't make any profit. But it's literally just about getting by and having enough to make sure that we can we can deliver what we're delivering, and hopefully build on that as well. Hopefully make it a bit bigger, get more people in that we can pay, so that people can devote time properly to these things. That's the vision, but we need the help of everybody out there that watches Indie Live or CommonSpace.
I think it's brilliant. You're getting all these people in. You did the little girl from Shawlands Academy as well, didn't you?
Alicia, done great work last week.
I think that is fantastic being able to do that. You know, and so I think prior to like Indie Ref, the media was like a big black box to most people. You know, you just went down, you got your newspaper, just got it via the TV. But now it's like we're opening that up, and people can see what's going on here.
And it's having an effect on the mainstream channels, because they're seeing what we are doing. They're seeing on social media when things that we're covering are getting a response, and it's then bringing stories to the attention of mainstream media maybe that they wouldn't have covered otherwise. So they're actually picking up what we're doing. So we're having an impact in loads of different ways. It's not just about what you see on Indie Live or what you see on CommonSpace. It actually has a much bigger ripple effect than that. We've been able to observe that over the time that we've been live. You can actually see that. You can trace that happening. So people, even if you're just donating like a £5 a month to CommonSpace, or you give Indie Live a one-off 20-30 quid donation, or whatever you can afford, that money is actually going way further than just to the project that you're giving it to.
Yeah, we want to inspire people to get involved. So there's a lot there, isn't there, for what we actually do. So tell me, what's the big stories? So obviously Turkey and Theresa May and all that.
Yeah, we've got a new Prime Minister. We're still staying very much on Brexit, the Brexit story as well, and how this is the repercussions for Scotland. So we're trying to look at that from quite an international perspective. So we're keeping an eye on foreign press rather than just what's going on domestically, and we're trying to get a handle on how other countries and other areas of the world are looking in at Scotland now, and how those attitudes are changing. So we're still quite heavily on that kind of stuff, and just generally picking up the news and the themes and things that are going on a weekly basis. We try and plan ahead as much as we possibly can for things that we know that are coming up, but most of the time we're just kind of swept along with things as they're happening and unfolding. Such a small team, it can be very, very difficult to plan ahead, but we do our best.
Well, I've got the camera on them now. You can see that picture-in-picture camera, so
that's our little team working hard.
There they are. So we're after this, heading up to Waterstones. This is part of the stuff you don't see. You might just see like the live stream of a story, but the effort that goes into getting the story, etc. For CommonSpace. But for us, right, where you can do it, you go to an area to check out their internet connection and all that, right? So that's time, that's somebody's money to do that as well. So I'm going up to Waterstones, and I think it's quite interesting for CommonSpace as well. So I'm away up to check out their internet, etc., all to see if their internet's good enough to check our internet, and we could be live streaming James Kelman tomorrow, his book launch, which is being hosted by Alan Crissett.
That's right, we had that in our news roundup today. Yeah, that looks quite good.
So what we'll do is we'll get that embedded. We'll do it a normal live stream. It'll be embedded in on CommonSpace, and you can go to CommonSpace to watch it. Yep. Yeah. So
that's another thing behind the scenes that people don't see. So we spent a lot of time after our original website was built. There were a lot of things that didn't quite work on it because it wasn't really built as an editorial platform. So we decided to move it over, and I mean our tech team behind the scenes, people never see the tech team because they're not at the forefront. They do an incredible amount of work to get CommonSpace up to what it is, and again they do it for a hell of a lot less than web developers should be doing it for, because they believe in the project and they think it's important. But they basically took our whole website and transferred all of it, all the data, all the stories that we'd already done, about 3,000 stories by that point, onto a new platform that's much more able to deal with what we need it to do. And we've got the CommonSpace social network. We're almost ready to launch that. We're about to start opening it up to a select group of people, just do a little bit of testing. That's going to be a short amount of testing because we're keen to get it open.
Excellent.
That's an entire social network we have built in the last year and a half. That's incredible.
No, absolutely.
On a tiny, tiny budget. Those two platforms are then going to get integrated, and we're then going to have CommonSpace and CommonSocial, this kind of ecosystem. And one of the things that we've been able to do with this new website, you'll know, Kevin, is we've been able to open it up and give access directly to the people that contribute to the website. So Indie Live now has an account. You can log straight into CommonSpace, into the back end of our website.
And that's what I'll be doing.
You upload the live streams yourself. Anyone that, like our columnists, people that write regularly for us, we can give them access to the site now. We can help train them up a little bit so they can use editorial platforms. We can train them a bit more in journalistic styles and all the kinds of things that we would do here in the newsroom. So there's loads of ways that we're trying to use tech as well to make sure that people are actually part of this. That it's not us and them. It's actually theirs. It belongs to them.
And that's really interesting, because in another lifetime I used to be a computer programmer. Right? My skill set's so rusty now that don't know how to get any employment doing that. But so like when you see a website, right, it's like the tip of an iceberg. It's like, even with your stories, it's all the effort that goes in behind it to make it happen, to make it easily readable and digestible by people. And but it's good to let people know how much effort goes into it. I mean, look, I'm using this live stream at the moment, right? So I've got a 2-camera live stream. And we started it off, it was just I got an iPad from someone who, it was for some business project, right? It ended up being used to live stream independence stuff, right? Now I've got 2 cameras set up here, with both iPads, right? It's how you progress through time. We're always looking to improve stuff. We've got issues with sound, but everybody's got issues with sound these days. But we're always working to improve things. But the thing is, with us, there's you can also do great live stream and Facebook stuff. Just with your mobile phone, it is doable, right? This is a bit more complicated setup, but it suits what we're doing just now. I mean, I'm holding an iPad on effectively a selfie stick, right? £15 from local shop, but so it doesn't need to be expensive. I'll show you.
You're like the selfie king of the new media, Kevin.
We're always looking for doing stuff with what you've got inexpensively. There you go. There's the other camera up there. Okay, do you fancy talking to the crew?
Yeah, let's have a little tour around and see what everybody's up to. Everybody's been working hard as ever. So this is the 3rd week that the work experience programme people have been in.
Right.
So, and I can tell you that they've come on a hell of a way just in 3 weeks. It always amazes me when we get people in doing training and work experience, how quickly they pick things up and how rapidly you can see their writing and their styles and everything begin to change, and people really just take to it so quickly. So hopefully they feel like they're coming on as much as I'm seeing that, so maybe we'll find out.
Absolutely.
Maxine, she's come in. If nobody's been watching our broadcast, where have you been? If you haven't, Maxine's doing a kind of social media content role at CommonSpace, so she's dealing with all our social channels, and she's just keeping an eye on everything that's going on, and trying to make sure that we're on top of things. So Maxine, what have you been up to this week?
So far this week I have done a lot of the kind of stuff that you guys were just talking about, the stuff that you don't see.
Right.
So people just think that there's this kind of this amalgam, this avatar-like creature that tweets for CommonSpace, but it's me. I do a lot of scheduling. I do a lot of
You're
stuff
the
in
tweeter.
advance.
Oh my god.
It's a lot more time-consuming than people think
it takes
it
a
is,
lot longer than people think, and getting stuff set up over the weekend is a pretty time-consuming task. But one of the exciting things that I've been doing this week is the News in 5 Minutes articles. I've taken over from David, who's on holiday, so I've been doing news roundups, which is really, really interesting to work on. And today I did a piece on the launch of the Hourland Festival. which is a festival run by Commonweal that's going to be happening in August and September, which is really exciting, and there's loads and loads of really cool events on, so definitely check out our piece on that to see if there's any that you might want to go to.
Yeah, that was really
Excellent.
popular last year, their land campaign, so it's good to see that up and running again for a second year.
Brilliant.
So Maxine, we're 3 weeks in now. You hadn't done a role like this before, so how are you finding you're settling in after that time?
Certain things are becoming more manageable, and then there are other things that I think it takes you a little while to realise how you should be doing certain things.
Yeah.
But like doing the news in 5 minutes is getting quicker every time I do it, which is good. Which it was quite time consuming at the start, and getting a handle on the scheduling for long periods of time, like the weekend, has been one of the things that's been a bit of a struggle, but I think I'm getting it now. So.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job. I'm delighted with how the social media has been going, because the way it's been before, we've all kind of tried to pitch in and just do that. It was a bit of an afterthought, really, social media, when actually, when you're online only and social media is your only way of getting the stories out there, it's absolutely vital. It's your only channel to your audience. So,
absolutely.
So I think, we definitely need to take. I mean, you see like Wings Over Scotland and Bella Caledonia, they're much more like attached to their Twitter feeds. You know, you really feel like there's somebody behind that. So we're kind of trying to build up now a bit more to that, and people, so that people know there's actually a person behind that Twitter feed and someone you can speak to. It's not just like robots.
It's not a robot. Definitely not a robot.
It's not a robot, and it's not Robin either. I get called Robin a lot on Twitter.
Just to clarify this for anyone that's confused, CommonSpace is funded by Commonweal. We're owned by Commonweal, but we're editorially independent of it.
Yeah.
So Robin McAlpine, as you can see, Kevin can probably prove it to everyone. He is not in the office.
He's not hiding.
He's not hiding anywhere in the office.
Behind his boxes, maybe? No, he's not there. Definitely not here.
Robin actually, he's not. This is not a cunning disguise. Maxine is not a cunning disguise.
No. Much taller.
So Robin doesn't actually take anything to do with running a CommonSpace at all, and the purpose of that is that for us to be taken seriously as a news outlet, we can't have any influence from a think tank which is political and a campaigning think tank as well. So Commonweal, we share an office. I mean, we do have Ben from the policy unit. He sits at a different table.
It's up there.
We just occasionally throw things at him. The enemy over there. But that's really as far as that relationship goes. We speak to each other obviously because we're very close, and a lot of what Commonweal does is campaigning work, which CommonSpace would cover a lot of. But we actually do take it really seriously that one must be separate. So therefore Robin and Commonweal doesn't have any influence into CommonSpace. So, but we do get a lot of confusion around it, understandably, because it is an unusual model. I can see why people are never quite sure of that. But yeah, generally, Robin gets credited with all my decisions as well, which is not so bad. When if it's complaints, then I'll just let Robin take the flak for that. So we come round to Nathan, Nathaniel, Nat.
Yeah. Hey, Nat.
Hi.
Robert on Twitter, by the way, so you'll excuse me if I'm getting mixed up with him. But so Nat's building himself a little workstation here on some objectors and resistors books, which, by the way, you can buy online from Commonweal. Yeah, good thinking. So what have you been working on this week now?
Oh, this week's been absolutely hectic because we've had obviously Turkey over the weekend with the coup. So we had a nice little neat explainer for everyone, especially because international relations aren't really sort of covered in detail, isn't really that accessible in the UK media, let alone media in Scotland. But also we have the vote on Trident, which is absolutely crucial in terms of getting people to understand obviously where all the political parties and players are, but sort of writing up those facts, those key facts that people might not know about. So that was obviously very, very intense. We had quite a lot of work at the beginning of the week. Today, Angus Robertson has quoted again the article that we published here about European support for Scotland and the EU. He just come out of a meeting previous to the PMQs with the German Vice Chancellor and the Austrian Finance Minister as well. So that's obviously very good. You're looking at politicians obviously reflecting what we've been writing about and going and mentioning it on the continent as well. So it's all part of us showing what people are saying about Scotland elsewhere around the world and trying to keep that up on the website as well.
It's amazing to think that little CommonSpace is actually bringing that to the attention of the SNP and
Absolutely.
Scotland's most senior politicians. So yeah, we're quite happy with that.
That's fantastic.
So Nat, you've been here everyone's in the third week. How do you? I mean, we were chatting about this morning. And I was saying I can see such a rapid difference in how people are coming on when it comes to writing and the technical side of journalism that people don't think as much about, like how you put the articles together and that, which is really important, because if you don't put your articles together well, then people aren't going to understand what you're trying to tell them. So that's a big aspect of it that I think maybe people don't consider as much when they think about journalism. So on that side of things, how have you found it at CommonSpace so far?
I think it's been really interesting thinking about what's the most important thing, writing a story. It's about the people who are going to be reading it, and thinking about it from their perspective in terms of information. When you're quite schooled about international relations, you very much going straight at the deep end, but you need to think about how to structure your story. You need to think about those skills and techniques, about how to write. So recently it's been very good in terms of the training, sort of collecting that knowledge and being able to apply it on a regular basis every day, several times a day, as well as using all the research that we've been going through as well to find those stories. So yeah, it's been very enjoyable.
Good.
Okay, right, let's move round. We'll shimmy round a wee bit. Again, we've got wires here and health hazards all over the office.
Yes.
As you can see.
Hiya.
Boxes. This is Alice. Alice, what have you been working on this week?
This week I've been doing an opinion piece, and I also got my ScotCoin interview up on the website, which is good. It seems to have had quite a good
So
reception.
for anyone that doesn't know what ScotCoin is, explain a bit about ScotCoin.
ScotCoin is basically a digital currency that is a regional digital currency, so it's one that's been created for Scottish people specifically. So that's been really, really interesting just to find out, how the idea for that came about and what makes it different from other digital currencies such as Bitcoin and things like that. The other thing I've been working on as well is I've been working on a survey of tech entrepreneurs and startup businesses and how they would feel about a potential independent Scotland and how it might affect their business as well.
Yeah. Excellent.
The ScotCoin stuff's really interesting, because that got really quite an interesting response on social media yesterday, I think.
Is that
because, yeah, I mean, we were looking at this anyway, but then the Sunday Herald reported at the weekend that the SNP's looking at the currency question again, and they're looking at Scotland creating its own currency, so it made it even more current, people thinking about different ways that you might be able to do that or what it might look like. So there's definitely a lot of interest in ScotCoin, and it's just great to have a writer on the team that's interested in the tech side of stuff that's going on, because there's actually a wealth of stories in there, an opportunity for Scotland, I think. If people wanted to really take these projects on and lead the way a little bit, we're in a really exciting time globally when it comes to digital and tech and innovation and creativity. It's all about ideas at this stage still. So it's good, I think, when you have media outlets that engage that, it helps encourage other people maybe to be more involved in it, or to be a bit more forthcoming about their own ideas and stuff. So
and there's lots of room to to do work in that area as well, because it's not kind of saturated. There's not like loads of other outlets in Scotland, I feel, that are jumping on some of the stories that I want to be reporting on, so we can get a lot more exclusive content, which is really interesting as well.
So let's come round this a bit. We've got Stuart over here. Stuart's in at the corner.
Hi, Stuart.
Stuart, how are you getting on this week? What have you been looking
Fine,
at?
so I've been looking at a couple of pieces about the Scottish constitutional question. Last week I reported on the Constitutional Forums Group publication of a draft bill calling for a new Act of Union, which its proponents say would create a federal UK, but its critics from the SNP say it would actually diminish the power of the Scottish Parliament. And then on Monday I was reporting on moves to accelerate the formation of a national yes registry, which would basically be
This is the Grassroots campaign.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I can let you in on something.
Are you part of
Ooh, is this an exclusive?
It's an exclusive. It's Veterans for Independence, right? They're actually running an event at Renfield St Stephen's on the 23rd. I think it's this Saturday, and they'll have Jason Baird along specifically to talk about National Yes Registry.
Great.
Okay, so we'll be live.
He's doing a lot of great work, Jason.
It's huge.
He's putting a hell of a lot of work.
He is, and when we do these events, Jason gets to explain in more detail what the National US Registry is about. I think it's quite an exciting idea. I think they're going to launch in September the 18th, Stuart, I think.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it's just great for us to see, because a lot of what CommonSpace does is covering campaigners, grassroots campaigners, what they're doing, and it's just this, it's always so encouraging to see people at that real grassroots level just picking things up and running with them, and not waiting to be told, or not waiting for an official body or an official person to say, right, let's organise or let's do. They just do, and they, I think we saw during Indirect, it was the grassroots that really was leading the way in a lot of the stuff.
No, absolutely.
And another thing we were doing this week, or was it last week? No, it could have been last week. Actually, I think it was last week, because I think you might have been kicking around, Kevin. We were doing some style training. And this is another side of journalism that I think people never really consider, or why these things might be important. Why do you explain what the style training was and what you thought of it?
Okay, so it was just about training about basic things like punctuation and how to present articles in a presentable format on the website. It was quite interesting because nothing's worse than going on a website which is sloppily presented. So it's good to learn how to make articles as well presented as possible.
It's quite tricky, isn't it? Because even since we've done the style training, you go back over things. There's things in all the way through articles that people are very rarely aware of when they're reading, that they're not consciously aware of, but subconsciously they are aware of it, and it helps them form an idea of whether news can be trusted or not. So how consistent you are in the way that you write things, and it comes down to things like how you write percentages and how you write pound signs, and whether you use the word million, if you have the word million and then you have M and then you have loads of different ways of writing the same thing throughout an article, a percentage symbol and then the words percent, and then
that's a big credibility in it.
Exactly.
It makes you more credible in
people
people's
don't
eyes.
realise how those little things are actually traditionally been massively important in newspapers. They have a very strict style that everything must follow, every single article, and that helps create a kind of voice for that news brand. And quite often what you find in citizen journalism and grassroots journalism is that they don't take any of that into account, because they're just thinking about the content. But the problem with that is that the people reading the content are a bit less sure about whether they can trust it or not, because presentation actually does matter. So at CommonSpace we've been really keen to try and tighten that up and make sure that we have quite a consistent way of doing things, of writing things, of saying things, and I think that's really helped in the way that people's perceptions of us have evolved. So how are you finding it a few weeks in, Stuart?
It's challenging, but I think I'm surely getting the hang of it. It's about learning the art of finding news stories and pursuing charities, pursuing think tanks, pursuing
so many groups.
Yeah,
and just finding where the stories are lurking. And that is harder than it sounds as well in journalism. A lot of people in citizen journalism tend to be reacting to news a lot. It could be analysis or opinion, or it could be different perspectives on a story, but only once the story has come out. What we're trying to do is be at the forefront of trying to find stories that you haven't heard before at all, that nobody else has reported. And actually, when I find when people come into the newsroom, they find that is a lot harder than they thought it would be, because it's about finding the places to look, building the contacts, and I would encourage people, if they think it's easy, give it a go, because it actually is a lot harder than you think.
Just on something you mentioned there, is there any way do you just pick up in leads from people that post stuff, or do they offer leads, or if they've got stories they think might be interesting to you?
Yeah, you can
How
get
do they do that?
both. So there's several ways you can get like original news stories. It could be completely through your own investigation. So you could be building contacts within companies, organisations, or politicians who will tell you things, and then you go and find the information to back that up, to stand up a story. Or you might use like freedom of information requests, or you'll use other methods of finding out information, uncovering information, maybe trawling through minutes of meetings and picking things up. So that's actually really time-consuming investigative stuff. There's other things where it just could be that you're like Nat. I mean, one of the huge stories that we've had this month was that poll about how Europeans are looking at Scotland right now. And it wasn't that it was hidden away somewhere, it was just that nobody else had seen it, no one else was looking, no one else had picked it up. And that did, and brought that to everyone's attention here.
Yeah.
So the story was sort of theoretically already out there, the poll was already out there, but nobody here knew about it. So that itself is still an original story.
Yeah.
And then you also find that just through the course of doing journalism, working on certain stories, maybe following campaigns or following stories, you build up contacts. And so if they then do have something that they think should be out there, a piece of news that they want to release, and they're going to go to media outlets with it, then quite often we find that a lot of those people start to come to us first because they like what we're doing, they like the way that we report things, they think that we do it in the best way we can, we try to be fair, we try to be balanced.
That's
we don't
fantastic.
take positions on things, very rarely do we take a position on things. So there's several different ways that original stories can come to you, and we try and make that the core of what we do. But we also do just picking up other things that are in the media, like the news roundup. That's about just collecting everything that's already out there, because our readers would still be interested in it, and they might be interested in how we would report that, how we would approach it. It might be different to how other newspapers would. And then we do kind of more fun stuff, like Alicia last week. She done an explainer on Pokemon Go, because it's just one of those things.
Please, somebody tell me.
About
So that's how I found out about it.
That's it, you can go and read it.
I'm bamboozled by it.
Yeah. But it's one of those, everyone on social media is talking about it, people want to know a bit more about it, it's a bit fun, it's a bit light, so it's not exactly like groundbreaking, original, investigative journalism, but it still has an audience, and it still has an audience among our audience. People like to see that other stuff as well. So we've got to try and get this balance between all of those things with a tiny team, which is why, I'm constantly in awe of the team that we've got here. They work so hard to try and make sure that we tick all those boxes.
Do you know, I actually asked my stepson, right, about that Pokemon thing, right, because I've seen a couple of it, and I just get it to explain it to me, why is it so important, or what's going on. He just gave me a teenage shrug of the shoulders.
You sound so old when you say things like that.
Yeah, I know.
But I think it's like
I think
Facebook. I think it's one of those things that you can't explain the concept of it to someone that doesn't use it. Like, they just wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
If you try to explain the point of Facebook to someone that doesn't use it, they kind of look at you blankly, like, well, why don't you just pick up the phone and phone someone? But so I think maybe we need to download this app, Kevin, and go out and hunt Pokemon.
I think we're going to have to do actually research on it, and report back, do an exclusive on
a Pokemon special on Independence Live.
I think so. I think it's definitely.
Is this building a Pokestop? I didn't know.
A Pokestop.
Yeah, it is. So,
Oh my God,
apparently
what's this?
this building's a Pokestop, which is significant.
This is groundbreaking. What is
I
it?
don't know.
A poker. What?
The office is a Pokestop.
Is it? Really?
Yeah, so
Oh my
you
God.
collect Pokeballs and potions and stuff right here in the office.
Is this where you get your equipment, basically?
Yeah. Yeah.
This happened
idea what they're talking about.
happened the other week in the office last week. This is when I found out what Pokemon was, because Maxine kind of shrieked something about a Pokemon being on the table, and I thought we'd broken her. I thought the pressure had kind of got to her a bit too much, and she was seeing things. But apparently, no, there was a Pokemon on that table.
Dear
right
God.
there.
Yeah, right there. There was a gas leak right there.
I don't know what that means either, but there was a Pokemon on the table.
Right, we definitely need somebody to tell us about these things.
Yeah. So there you go. This is the great information you get from our weekly broadcast.
Absolutely.
We have had Pokemon in the office.
And
So that's more or less what everybody's doing. You can see that there's a wide variety of stuff that people are working on, and it's, like I said, it's that sort of trick of trying to cover all the bases that we need to cover, to keep our readers feeling like we are across everything that's important to them. So it's not just about being in a newsroom and being an editor. It isn't me sitting there thinking about what I think is important in the news and what I think that people should be covering and what everyone else needs to know about. It's about trying to get to know your audience, the people that already read what you do. What are they interested in? What's important to them? What do they require information on regularly? So we have to try and make sure we provide that, and then the challenge is over and above that to grow the audience. So the people that aren't already reading CommonSpace, how do you get them to come in? How do you get them interested? How do you understand how you can appeal to them? and keep your current readership quite happy with the content. So that's our job as journalists. I think a lot of people, when they're coming in from a citizen journalism perspective, it's often thinking about, it is quite self-indulgent. It's about what you think is important in the world and what you think people should be reporting on, where you identify gaps and flaws. But when you come into a newsroom, you have to shift that thinking round to actually what you think doesn't really matter. I mean, you can make assessments on things, but your personal opinions on things don't matter that much. You have to be able to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve in that newsroom. That's why, some of the the newspapers that maybe take pro-Brexit or pro-independence or anti-independence, anti-Brexit positions, how a lot of their reporters will have their bylines on articles that can seem very weighted towards one position, but that reporter themselves might not actually think that at all, because it's not a reflection of what they think. It's part of their editorial position,
line,
their editorial line, that agenda which comes from, which is a process of decision making that involves other people, and that's what eventually leads to the articles that you see. So sometimes the angle on an article might get changed by, if a reporter writes an article up, an editor can then go in and change bits of it. They don't ask reporters for permission to do that, because that's not how that works. Reporters are employed to do certain jobs. So the mechanics of the newsroom, I don't think is very well understood when people are analysing how journalism works. So it's good for them. It's, I find for people to come in, even just for a little while, doing work experience in CommonSpace, so just coming in and having a look and seeing how it works can be really helpful in understanding the problems because it's not saying, we have endless problems in journalism in the UK, but in order to address them, you have to really understand how the industry works.
I mean, for me, it's been, an eye-opener coming in here, and I've dropped in now and again before we started doing these live streams, and I was picking stuff up. I find it incredibly useful to see how, an organisation works like this, and the editorial and the journalism side of things, without a doubt. So thank you for that.
And often when you come in, Kevin, you bring chocolate as well.
I do. I like to keep the CommonSpace crew well fed and stuff, because sometimes they look as if they need some chocolates. But what somebody said there, the editorial line in newspapers, right? It could be pro this or bias this, and I find that during the independence referendum, some of the stuff that's come through, right? I'm just going to say it, right? The Guardian, I found quite painful to actually read, but you could tell what the editorial line was, right? And the bottom line is this: if you want to keep your job, etc.
Exactly.
If you want to keep your job, you've got to go with the editorial line. So that's it. It's no big conspiracy theory or that. It's just how it is, isn't it?
It is, which is a shame, because I think if you misunderstand that, then what we saw a lot during the independence referendum, which was imbalanced. There's no doubt about that. There was one newspaper that was pro-independence, and the rest either didn't declare or they were pro-union. So that is an imbalance, and I can completely understand supporters of independence being angry about that. I think they're right to be. But what we often saw was anger at individual journalists. The person whose byline is on an article, sometimes anger gets directed at those people as if they are making the decision to take a particular line on something, and not understanding actually there's a process and a hierarchy, and your articles will, a reporter doesn't just decide to write articles and nobody checks it and it goes in the paper. It goes through an editorial process after that, and sometimes can be changed. It might not even be what that person originally wrote. So the anger being directed at individuals was just pointless in a lot of ways, because that's not what the issue is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with newspapers taking a line, incidentally. I don't think that has to be a terrible thing, because sometimes people need a bit of help to interpret all of this massive information. They need well-informed voices to come in and say, we've looked at this, we've assessed it, and this is our reading of the situation. And that can be useful. It's not useful when it's completely imbalanced like that, I don't think. And at CommonSpace, well, we don't, I don't write editorials, and we never backed anything on Brexit. We never backed parties at the last two elections, so we've tried to steer kind of clear away from that. We would be pro-independence. We've never had to be officially because we didn't exist at the referendum, but I think it's quite obvious that we would have a pro-independence line. We come out of that movement.
Yeah.
But what we do is we try not to be sensational about it all the time.
No.
We try not to just completely kick down at the opposing arguments. I think it's better to engage them and actually think about things and reflect things honestly and build stronger cases for or help allow other people to do that, give them the space to do that. So even though I would say that I think broadly it's okay to take a position on things, even though we generally don't too much, I think it's fine for papers to do that. But what we saw a lot and what we continue to see is sensationalised versions of things in newspapers in order to fit their editorial line. So it's no longer that they've looked at the news and they've taken a position because it's well-informed assessment. It's more like they've taken a political position and then decide to try and manipulate the news to their position. So it's working in the opposite way, I think, and that's what's misleading for readers and ultimately quite damaging. There was a report, was it London School of Economics just this week about Jeremy Corbyn actually talking about that earlier, and I think they found something like 75% of newspaper articles had misrepresented Corbyn or reported in a negative light things that he'd said or his positions on things, and I just think that's absolutely incredible. 75% of newspapers misleading the readers basically, because it feels as though their political positions or their political lines have become more important than the actual news, and it's just gone way too far in that direction. And of course they're influenced by the people that own them. And that is media ownership is the biggest issue that we face.
I think people get very angry because they feel powerless to do anything. They might be informed, they might understand about the editorial lines and stuff, but because the media is such a big reach, right? And if you, like John Indiref, we had nothing there but the Sunday Herald, and the frustration seeing it come through in all these media outlets. When you walk into the local co-op and you've just a wall of newspapers basically telling you how too stupid Scotland is, however they spun that. We can't afford to pay pensions, yada yada, and people just get very frustrated with that.
Exactly, and like I say, I think they're right to be, because it was imbalanced. That shouldn't. I mean, you see in Brexit, it was quite different to that. You had a number of papers taking different positions on Brexit, but in India, it was just one, and it was only a weekly paper. So independent supporters are entirely right, I would think. To be angry about that, and that's why we see a lot of the new media that we see today, because people just felt so powerless against that.
Absolutely.
But they now have the tools to try and take that up, and that's kind of what gave birth to the new media movement, I feel like, in Scotland, and that's just grown its own arms and legs since
absolutely. Then. What happened by Independence Live is here because Derek, we were looking about and looking at what was happening and thought, what can we do? We're going to start live streaming. And here we are in the CommonSpace office after all that time.
I know, that's amazing. We're all still here.
I know, we're still here. So
and we've got new people, we're adding.
Absolutely, and they're having a great laugh here.
Yeah.
I think I should bring them chocolates the next time.
We're always taking donations of chocolates.
Yeah, absolutely. It keeps things going. Okay, so
that's us for another week. The other thing that I think we're going to be doing this week, Nat, you're heading out, is it tomorrow, for Alan Smith's campaign launch?
Yeah, it's launch for deputy leadership, so that's definitely one to watch for.
You're going to Edinburgh?
Yes. Yeah.
We need to talk, because I think Indie Live are live streaming something, right? So maybe you can hook up with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You can be the roving reporter on the spot. We need to get a little microphone thing so you can kind of look like those BBC guys with the microphone.
It's like, see, the thing is, right, that can it's a hindrance to us, right? We now have so much equipment, right? To cover every type of event, or you're going to an event you've never, most of the time you go to places we've never covered before, right? So it's like, okay, what if they don't have internet in it? I'll have to bring my router, my two routers, big cables, and it gets really difficult and challenging. So I mean, I'm using an iPad here. I've got using an iPad mic, if I had to get an external mic for this, right, it causes extra issues.
Yeah.
Weight, I could have hold it with extra weight, the thing that attaches to it. You know,
That's
there's all
fine.
these things.
We'll just get a little toy one for that because
We'll
it's
get-
just like it's
should-
just for the visuals. Just something.
Re-
A hairbrush would do.
I've got something I could give you, yeah. Pretend mic.
So watch out, we'll have Nat on the forefront tomorrow, reporting live, describing events as they unfold.
But we'll get you sorted, hooked up with our Indie Live person in Edinburgh. Nat, okay?
Yeah.
And you can maybe do a bit of reporting for us. We'll be live stream, you can do your own stuff. You can also maybe interview Alan or that
Yeah,
for us.
sounds good, yeah.
Yeah? There you
It's new
go.
media collaboration. in
Absolutely.
action.
It's just natural. It's the way to do it. You're experts in this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely hate being in front of a camera, but there you go. You've got to do what you've got to do.
That's it.
So
So that's us for another week.
that is us. And just to remind everybody, we've got 4 days left of our Independence Live crowdfunder. It switches to three days left at 8 p.m. tonight because it's American system, Indiegogo. So if you can help, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, you know, keep supporting Independence Live, our crowdfunder, and definitely CommonSpace.
Please support Indie Live. We need these guys.
Yeah, we've got other great stuff out there as well. We've got Bella Caledonia and you know Wines Over Scotland and all that. You know, Newsnet Scotland. You know, International's doing its bit at you know that level.
Phantom Power
And
is another great
Phantom Power.
filmmaker.
And Sunday Herald's still going. It's a tough one because you know there's a lot needs supported and you know there you go then. So I'm now off to go to Waterstones in Sucky Hall Street.
I thought you were going to tell us you were off on holiday there. I was going to be
Well,
very
I was
jealous.
down at Largs yesterday. That was a great
Wow.
holiday. David McGowan took me and the family down in the car, and I was swimming about in the freezing cold water, and it was so relaxing. I can't tell you
We
how
were
chilled
stuck
out.
in the office.
Oh, that's a shame. The only good summer's day we've had since stuck here. So
Apart from all those good summer's days that we did have a wee while ago.
that was early on. Did that really count? I'm not sure.
It's brightening up. I guess happened last week when you came
Yeah.
in the office. The sun came out. You should have seen it this morning out there.
Ah,
it was like winter.
It was grim, wasn't it?
It was.
Well, hopefully the weather will pick up. But I'm off to Waterstone to test out that their internet, to check my internet, see what I can do there, and hopefully it'll be Mr. Kelman book launch with Alan Bassett
What
hosting
time
it.
is that tomorrow?
Do you know, I need to check. I'm not sure what time's that. But the cool thing about this is because I was talking to you know the person that works there about this, me coming up and that, and they might be creating a space up there specifically for events. So it could be that we're looking to do more cultural stuff. So it might be more collaborations with Waterstones. But this is, as far as my involvement is concerned, being main kind of organiser of Independence Live kind of thing, right? Is you need to keep me going. Or not. I won't be upset. You know what I mean? I'll just have to move on. Yeah, well, what can you do? That's how it goes. So we're going to have to say, that's another shot to the office there in picture. We're going to have to say goodbye here. Till next week, hopefully I'll be live streaming you again, of course.
Every
Yes, well,
Thursday. This is Wednesday. This
Yeah.
isn't Thursday.
Is it?
Every
Yeah,
Wednesday at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll definitely be in next Wednesday to do it right, in respect of the crowdfunder, okay? But goodbye from us.
Thank you.
We'll just leave you
Bye.
the little picture of my crowdfunder. See, people can still hear us. There you go, crowdfunder. There's a link up there, right? And we're going to finish it off with this lovely little graphic, CommonSpace. I nicked that off the internet and then
Lovely.
added. That's quite good, isn't it?
Got loads of them in the office.
Okay, folks, we're going to say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.